I mean, how cool is that? That's our new video intro for the Strong Style. I am one of your hosts, the Outlaw John Rocha, and I got to thank Brian Ward for creating that intro for me and my co-host at this time, coming from Orlando, Florida. He is Aaron Turner. How are you, brother?
Doing great. Where the WWE is now considered an official essential business. They are recognized by the governor of Florida as an essential business. So the tapings will continue, ladies and gentlemen.
Even though, thanks to our friend Ryan Satin over at the Pro Wrestling Sheet, he broke the story that one of the staffers for the WWE did come down with the coronavirus, COVID-19. They're saying that it's a low-level staffer and hasn't been a lot of two people are infected. But this is what everyone was afraid of, that someone was going to contract this thing with the WWE, even with all the amount of live shows they're still doing. Someone was going to get this thing, and now the fear is, where is it going to go? Who got it from this person? Is it going to spread? Things of that nature. So we shall see. Certainly, as you said just now, Aaron, the live tapings will continue, but you have to have concern about what may happen now down the road for the WWE and COVID-19. Hopefully nothing, because we all want those wrestlers who are basically personal contractors to be able to keep working and making money and supporting themselves and their families. But this is the dangerous game you play when you keep going during something like this. Even the UFC canceled their UFC 249 for now. So we'll see.
Yeah, UFC 249 on an island, as Dana White wanted to do it. I mean, I like UFC as much as I used to. I can't say as much these days. I'm not a big UFC fan these days as I used to be, for sure. But Dana White and Vince McMahon, it's so funny that both fan bases, the UFC and the WWE, have this big disconnect with each other, because the UFC is like super big, like, oh, it's real fighting. Of course it is. In WWE, it's like fake fighting. Right. Okay, gotcha. But whenever I make a tweet or I say something like Vince McMahon and Dana White are like the same person, people are like, no, they're not. They're not this. Blah. They are literally like the same person with the same mentality. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's for sure. Are you looking forward? Isn't Jimmy Snuka this week, the Dark Side of the Ring?
That's tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night. By the time you'll hear this, Jimmy Snuka, Dark Side of the Ring. That's going to be awesome. I kind of feel bad for Tamina. Yeah, that's going to be a little weird because she's apparently very well liked backstage.
Yeah, no surprise.
So it's going to be interesting. See how that goes with her.
Yeah, and for those of you who are interested, we have reviewed Dark Side of the Ring over the last 3 weeks on the Strong Style show here. We did the Brawl for All as a separate review that dropped on this past Friday. You can go and take a look at that. We also reviewed the Chris Benoit one we reviewed the two-part Dark Side of the Ring treatment on the Chris Benoit tragedy. We reviewed that as a separate video as well. Got over 1,000 views. Thank you so much for any of you who are watching us right now who liked it and watched it as well. And also we reviewed a New Jack episode within one of our regular episodes, but I encouraged Aaron, or I said to Aaron, I think we should do them as separate reviews because there's more content to build up the fan base for Strong Style. And I do want to say something on a personal level, guys. If you like the show, if you enjoy the show, please retweet the show. Please share the show with all your pro wrestling friends. The numbers are going down a little bit, and we want to get the numbers back up somehow. So we're open to any suggestions you might have. The first thing we're going to do is starting next week, the show is going to be live, so you all can come in and watch us live and send in your super chats or your Streamlabs, or send in your comments, maybe even come in live into the chat, and we'll bring you into the show to ask us a question live about whatever we're talking about, whatever subject we're talking about, or whatever's going on in the world of professional wrestling. We are going to do that, make it an hour-long show for you all to enjoy and watch, and watch along live with us and leave your comments. So I will be announcing that on social media and on everywhere else I can. I'm sure Aaron will do the same when we've got a lockdown time and a lockdown day. But starting from that day forward, that'll be the consistent time that this show is going to be live in that way. So just trying to generate more views, more likes, and more interest in the show, because I think we have a damn good show, and I think today is going to be no different. Aaron, what have we got on tap today?
So today we're talking about the 1997 WCW Spring Stampede, the main event, no disqualifications, the Macho Man Randy Savage versus Diamond Dallas Page. Big time event. This episode's really going to be more about Diamond Dallas Page more so than it is the Macho Man Randy Savage. Of course, he's very integral to the success of DDP, and we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
But just kind of keep your head on a swivel, as we're going to be talking a lot about DDP through this episode.
That's right. That's right. I'm excited to talk about it because these are two guys that I've enjoyed for different reasons at different times in my life. I loved 80s Randy Savage when he got into the 90s. Still enjoyed him on the NWO, but you were starting to hear whispers and rumblings of problems with him and Hogan in the back and things of that nature. But Randy was Randy being super intense. The stuff with Miss Elizabeth had started leaking out on those websites. The gossip sites about wrestling wrestling personalities and their behind the scenes drama. DDP was someone that I just thought was a bodyguard, didn't think he was going to be anything. And of course, that became integral to this guy's story about how he fought and pushed and trained at a much more advanced age than most wrestlers when they're starting out to become professional wrestlers, get into the business, and somehow succeeded overall and has left a hell of a legacy both inside of the ring and outside of the ring for sure with everything he's done. Seems like a genuinely nice dude who understands and cares about people and is appreciative about everything he receives in life.
Definitely. And, most guys start in the business in their early 20s, and Diamond Dallas Page was even at an early WrestleMania as the pink Cadillac driver for Rhythm and Blues when they were coming down for WrestleMania 3, if you remember that. But,
Right.
Most guys don't start to hit their peak in the pro wrestling business in their 40s.
Right.
That's not how it works. And that's how it happened for Diamond Dallas Page. The only other guy I could think of that did that was Batista.
Mhm.
Dave Batista was in his 40s at the time he was a world heavyweight champion. We talk a lot about AJ Styles and his age, but AJ's been doing it for about 30 years. So
Yeah, right.
He's earned that in his 40s. But DDP, man, a guy like the working class hero, like The Rock was the people's champion, people's champ in WWE. Diamond Dallas Page really was the people's champion in WCW. He was the working man, the blue collar worker. The guy was, I don't think he was ever meant to get over like he did. Like, he's just a guy that with long hair and a smoking a cigar, coming out with the glasses on, just feel the bang. It's like, okay, this guy's okay. But then he started working harder and harder and harder with these guys, and people, the legends of the business, the Savages, the Hogans, the Stings, started to realize what was going on, and they're like, man, there might be something in this Dallas guy.
Yeah, I think that comes through as you spend more time watching the progression of his career, how much better he got, how he listened to advice, how much he wanted to be successful at what he did. Professional wrestling is, people make fun of it, people jump into it, people do whatever they want to say about it. There are legitimate people who love this business. Certainly we saw a sample of that last week with the Dark Side of the Ring and Jim Cornette wanting to, choke the life out of Vince Russo and threaten his family. But you do but on the other side of it, there's people who know how to love a thing correctly. And it seems like DDP is one of those guys who understood how hard he needed to work, how much training he needed to do. And he certainly, it seems like from what most everybody says behind the scenes, never rejected a piece of advice from someone who was willing to offer it to him, had been in the business for a while, took it to heart, changed things around, wasn't afraid to make adjustments, certainly probably worried if the adjustments were the right ones, but he was never afraid to make them, it seems like, in the long run, and they worked out well for him overall. Now he's considered one of these guys that now the table's been reversed, where wrestlers come to him and ask for his advice and ask for his support and ask for his help in doing the things that they're doing. And in a way, he's paying it back, what they paid to him, or paying it forward the way he was paid at the time through a lot of assistance from other wrestlers behind the scenes, But you also, you can work as hard as you want, Aaron. You also have talent. You have to have talent. You have to have ability. And the guy at the end of the day certainly had that.
Definitely. And I just forewarned, I'm going to do a lot of reading in this episode, because there is a really cool story I came across talking about Macho Man and DDP and how they kind of worked it out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be reading, and I may do a Macho Man voice just to kind of separate the two. So just bear with me. I'll do it the best I can. But I want to tell this story before we get into the match.
Let's do it.
This is Diamond Dallas Page. I pulled this from DiamondDallasPage.com. He's talking about Randy Savage in this. He says, 2 years before we actually worked together, he pulled me aside in a nightclub, and we talked about psychology and about the character Diamond Dallas Page having too many gimmicks with the sunglasses, the cigar, and the gum. He was like, brother, you need to knock it back. And I did. It took me time, and I was lucky enough to get the Diamond Cutter hand sign over. And the next thing you know, Savage is talking to Bischoff about wanting to work with me. So here we are, Florence, South Carolina. This is an episode of Nitro. Place is sold out. People hanging for the rafters. Arn Anderson walks in the dressing room. And he says, so, Mach, what do you think about doing for the finish tonight? Randy Savage controlled his own booking, just like Hulk Hogan. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting on his boots, lacing them up, and I'll never forget, he stopped, looked up at Arn, and goes, I think I want to take the diamond cutter tonight. And he went back to lacing his boots. Arn was shocked. We had a hell of a match. He shut me down, got some heat on me out of my comeback, and then went to slam me, and boom, I reversed it, hit him with the diamond cutter. The roof blew off. The ref slid down 1, 2, 3, and the place erupted. While we were laying there, Randy said, I think we got our finish for Spring Stampede, huh? So there you go.
That's incredible, man. I mean, that's once again, we kind of have these ideas about these wrestlers behind the scenes, but we don't know the small little things they do sometimes that can change the course of history for another wrestler. Certainly DDP, and you'll tell that later on in the story, gives a lot of appreciation and credit to Randy to being one of those guys that kind of spotted the ascendancy of DDP and was willing to sacrifice himself to help it happen. Maybe Randy understood too, because Randy is a lifer. Randy, his brother, his dad, they were all in the business. They understood putting people over and how important it is, because when you put people over, then when you beat them or they beat or they beat you, whatever it is, you can create a better program when you put people over, because it makes them seem like they can beat you at any moment. So the fans are on the edge of their seats because they don't know what to expect, and so that's a brilliant thing to do with the right wrestler. Certainly Randy felt that way, obviously, to do that for Diamond Dallas Page. And once again, that conversation right on the ground, and you think they're in so much pain or they're hurt and whatever, he just rolls over and says, "Get ourselves a finish," things of that nature. So you love to hear behind the scenes stuff like that. That's positive about these wrestlers.
Yeah, and to have a legend like the Macho Man Randy Savage just be like, yeah, I'll put you over with your finish in the dead center of the ring. That's a big deal, man. Like, they could have, Macho Man or Hogan could have easily, because they had that creative control, could have been easily like, that doesn't work for me, brother. And then you're just kind of like, okay, I don't really know what to do. Am I going to win with a roll up, and not look strong at all? But no, Diamond Dallas Page using that diamond cutter, which was over like Rover back in this time in WCW 97. Holy crap. It got the crowd to their feet. Yeah. And I mean, it's not unlike, it's in my notes, but it's not unlike Randy Orton today doing the RKO. That's where, that's where he took it from. Obviously, he took it from Diamond Dallas Page and the diamond cutter. Right. When Randy hits that RKO and the people were like, "Oh my God, I never saw that coming." RKO out of nowhere. Diamond Dallas Page did it first. Yeah. And it really put the crowd to their feet. And that was their guy. So, I mean, it worked to perfection. But I mean, let's talk about the match, though. Like, did you watch this on the network, or did you watch this?
I watched it on the network, but I want to ask you, what is the lead into this match? What is the rivalry going into this match? We have the NWO, Randy with the NWO, Diamond Dallas Page, one of those people who didn't go over to the NWO. Where's the NWO at this time? Because Hogan is the champion, but he doesn't show up at the end of the match with the rest of the NWO. But DDP, as I said, is one of those guys like Sting who stays out of the NWO, and the fans are like starting to turn on the NWO. It feels like where they were once cheering them and for life and all, it seems like the fans are now kind of sick of the NWO a little bit. Maybe this is towards the end of its run, and they want to now cheer the faces even more so, judging from the match. What was going on between these guys? What was the program that led to this?
Yeah, what they initially did was they made it look like Diamond Dallas Page was actually going to join the NWO, because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall used to be managed by Diamond Dallas Page in the earlier days of WCW. The Diamond Stud and Vinny Vegas were both managed by Diamond Dallas Page. So it made sense that DDP would join the group, and he'd be one of those like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's leaving WCW to go to the NWO. Well, what ends up happening is it's a complete double cross, and Diamond Dallas Page ends up beating the living crap out of the entire NWO and not turning and sticking with WCW. So him and Savage have this thing now where he keeps calling him out because, Liz and Kimberly have this thing going on, and then Savage gets into it with Kimberly a little bit, and don't be coming after my woman, brother, and stuff like that kind of goes on in the background. But that's really where it started, where they made it look like DDP was going to be the guy, double cross the NWO.
Yeah. Oh, and you mentioned this at this time. Liz is not with Randy. She is in the storylines,
Yes.
right? But in real life, she is not with Randy anymore. And this was covered in the first season of Dark Side of the Ring. They talk about this when you watch the Randy Savage episode. They mentioned how he was just happy to bring her into the WCW or be a part of the WCW program with her, even though they weren't together. He was just happy to be part of a program with her in this way. And this was at the time where Liz was, she didn't want to. She never was a wrestler, so Liz is not one to get involved in the matches in a physical way usually. Whereas Kimberly Page, this is young Kimberly Page. She just posed in Playboy, I think, or Penthouse at this time. She was leading what were the girls called? The Nitro Girls. She had been the leader of the Nitro Girls. Yeah. She's actually legitimately married, I think, to Diamond Dallas Page at this time. So they kind of took a little bit of the real life, mixed it with some of the fake life, and put it together to create this program here. So you've got this situation between DDP and Savage coming into the match. We even get a promo from DDP before the match that Kimberly has some things to say towards Randy as well about letting the rage ride, about she doesn't want to calm him down anymore. She wants to let DDP do his thing to Randy in the ring. So we have that before we get into it. And I want to ask you, do you have something to say on that? And then I'll ask you my other question.
My only comments would be that Miss Elizabeth and Kimberly both, yes, looking mighty good in this match. Just wanted to say
absolutely
that.
Very beautiful.
just
lie
leave
there.
That. Yeah. Leave that as it is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They're beautiful. And look, they're in those positions because of their beauty in that way. I mean, I think Kimberly tried her hand at wrestling, but never was legitimately a wrestler. So, but she did have some physical altercations in the ring. There was stuff scripted for her to do, but that wasn't her point of view. Do we find out why they ended up divorcing down the road, or should we should probably leave that till later? We'll talk about that as an aftermath. But my question for you is this. Do you think this is the best Randy Savage ring wear? Do you like this Macho Madness? Is this the best version of Randy Savage in terms of ring wear and character? I mean, Macho Madness is brilliant to use, in my opinion. Other than Hogan's look, I thought Randy's was one of the best of the NWO.
See, I was thinking like when he was coming to the ring, I was like, I don't really like this gear that he's in. But then again, I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but like his sunglasses that had the lightning bolts on it, matched up perfectly with his bandana. Like the lightning bolts on the bandana matched the glasses perfectly. And I was like, there's no way that they could have made that so perfect. Like that has to be Randy Savageism. It's got to be like his ADD going wild. I'm more of a Macho King Randy Savage, like the purple and the white. That's how I remember Randy Savage, like being the bad guy, or in his tights, the yellow, or not the yellow, the orange with the stars, or the green with the stars. So I prefer those Macho Man, but the lightning bolt glasses, the madness wasn't bad. Randy not taking off his t-shirt these days, so speaks a little bit of the older age, and the hair wasn't exactly growing in as quickly. Probably could have used a little top coat up there, but it's just how it is.
Don't look at the pics, brother. Don't stare at the pics. Leave me alone. You're right. That's the kind. He does wear the shirt most of the time when he's fighting. To be fair, he didn't have the shirt on when he got used by Hogan's turn to form the NWO at Bash of the Beach. But by this time, he is wearing the shirt a lot in these matches. I like the Macho Madness gear. I mean, I dig the fact that it completely conveyed who this guy was. I still love the "What Up, Mach" intro song. I still have that saved on one of my workout playlists. I just dig that song overall when he was with Gorgeous George, and I can't remember who else he was with during that time. And Molly Holly, I think, was one of the girls involved in here. And so I liked the Macho Man at this time a lot. And so this was a match that I hadn't seen. I probably saw, but I hadn't seen in such a long time until you suggested it for the show. And this is actually it's not a tear down the walls kind of match, but it's a damn good match between two good professionals at the height of what they can do. And everything leading up to it is exciting to think about. You get that kind of intergender stuff going on with Macho and Page. And by the way, Kimberly Page. And by the way, Kimberly Page and DDP, some of the skinniest I've ever seen them. They're in incredible shape at this time, going up against Randy and Elizabeth. Incredible stuff.
And this is pre-yoga, so I mean, we got a lot of
very good point. Very good point.
First thing I want to point out, like I said, I watched this on the network as you did. Is going back, we talked about this a little bit last week when you said DDP's music probably would get someone a copyright strike these days. Yeah, back in the day, they would make the WCW theme songs were basically instrumental versions of popular music.
Yeah.
So
With a
Diamond
few
Dallas
notes
Page had,
changed. Yeah.
yeah. So Diamond Dallas Page had Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana. It's basically the same thing.
Right.
So when you go to watch it on the network, it's completely dubbed over. It's completely different. And I didn't notice this, but the Macho Man, like his song is also dubbed over. They just dubbed in the generic NWO music, and you miss like his intro from Michael Buffer.
Right.
Like it's like barely there. And I'm like, damn, like why did Michael Buffer not intro the Macho Man? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so if you go back and watch it, it's not quite the same experience. You can find it other places where that is not dubbed.
Yeah,
so,
Daily Motion. So watch the intros on Daily Motion, then switch over to the network and watch the match on the network. Yeah.
Yeah, but while I'm talking about Michael Buffer, I did want to throw in that this was such a weird thing, even for like Michael Buffer is this big time, like anytime there's a big boxing match, Michael Buffer is the let's get ready to rumble guy, like huge back in the 90s.
Yep.
Well, WCW would bring him in for the main events for Monday Nitro and the main events of pay-per-views. So his appearance fee back then was $25,000 an appearance.
Wow.
So it tells you how much money that WCW was pissing away just for an announcer. In 1997, he netted nearly $1.6 million just for working with WCW, like 52 appearances, like maybe.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, geez, dude, like talk about kicking some ass. But do you remember Michael? I mean, we've kind of evolved. Like Bruce Buffer, of course, UFC. But I mean, you're a boxing guy, so like, does this do anything for you? This extra Michael Buffer element?
Well, it did at the time, obviously, because like at this is the height of boxing. So much as Tyson is still around. There's Lennox Lewis. So many great boxers in multiple weight divisions are around in the 90s. And so Buffer rides the wave of other people being successful at what they do at beating each other up, either for real in the boxing ring or fake in the wrestling ring. Well, you don't want to say fake, but choreographed, I guess, in the wrestling ring. So he is riding the wave of these people because he just has that look. He has that polished, good-looking guy with the salt and pepper hair and a great voice. And certainly just like the Marv Alberts of the world and Marv Albert's brother, Kenny Albert, and all those the Alberts who do call numerous games. Some guys just have it. Greg Gumbel and Brian Gumbel, both guys doing the things that they do. Certainly Buffer and Bruce, Michael and Bruce doing doing their thing in their respective arenas. But I personally will take Michael over Bruce's way too excited presentation at times. But I like Michael's. Michael's was chill. Michael's was reserved. It was classy. He said, let's get ready to rumble. And that's just it. And he stood in one spot and just said it. And then you're in the game. It got you psyched up back in those days. Cause I mean, the 90s was all crazy stuff anyway. So it just made sense, but $25,000 a pop, man, much respect to this guy, good God. I would love to get to that position where you're making $1.6 million just for saying, let's get ready to rumble and writing things down on a card. Cause clearly he didn't even have to memorize. He had things written down on a card that he would look at before he started saying things. So shout out to Michael Buffer for creating a cottage industry for himself as the voice of boxing and WCW.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Wow, unbelievable! I remember him on Ready to Rumble Boxing for the Dreamcast. I remember that was the big thing. But I mean, like I said, remember that at this time, the diamond cutter is the most protected finish in wrestling. Not unlike Goldberg's jackhammer. Like when Goldberg hits with the jackhammer, you're done. When Hogan hits the leg drop, you're done. When DDP hits the diamond cutter, you're done. But early in this match, like that was the looming threat. It's like, okay, well, is Diamond Dallas Page going to hit the diamond cutter? When's he going to hit it? Right. Or is Randy Savage going to be crafty enough to hit the elbow drop and get the win? And then we started off with like this crazy like exchange, which DDP went for some sort of weird suplex. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he about dumped Macho like right on his head.
He almost broke his legs when Macho landed because he didn't land clean and he landed so close to the ropes. That could have been a terrible thing.
They both got up and looked at each other, and I was like, "Wait, who was supposed to get the offensive exchange there?" Because it looked really bad on both sides. But anyway, they fight to this is no DQ, by the way. So they fight to the outside. You get some trash can shots from DDP on Savage, which DDP falls in the liquid. If you didn't catch that. And then, the underlying theme of this match, of course, is DDP's rage. Like Kimberly talked about in the pre-interview, she's going to let it ride. And then Savage, of course, and really Elizabeth being the crafty veterans, like, okay, we're going to teach this guy. He's going to get overzealous. And we're going to be able to take advantage by showing, Macho Man using Kimberly as a barrier between the two, like, oh, you're not going to hit me because I'm going to put Kimberly in front of us. And then Liz comes up from behind DDP and does the back rake.
Right.
Oh, the treacherous back rake from Elizabeth. But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun in this match. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the beginning because you've got classic Randy stepping out of the ring and walking almost all the way to the back of the arena, saying he's not, like, essentially saying he's not going to wrestle, right? Because it's a no DQ match, doesn't have to wrestle. Classic heel move in that way, like going almost all the way out of the ramp, off the ramp and back into the back, but coming back, having the battle and going back and forth with DDP, and DDP kind of getting the advantage early on, and then Randy truncate just when he's about to pull that diamond cutter out early in the match. Randy gets the shot in, uses the ropes to pin him, which the referee apparently doesn't catch multiple times, by the way.
No
apparently. Yeah, that's right. So, that's right. No DQ. I guess you're right, because the announcers were yelling about him being on the ropes. Sometimes I wonder, and let me ask you this question too, man.
Sure.
You talk about stuff you can hear during the show and or not hear, as Michael in Michael Buffer's case with the intro for Randy. But with this situation here, you can hear Bobby Heenan taking little shots at WCW. And if you watch Bobby Heenan's documentary or conversations there about him or with him, they're very open about how much he hated being at WCW because of how he felt it was being run in an incompetent manner. Having come from the WWF, which was a very rigid system, run in a certain way, you knew what to expect. Even when you got screwed over, it made sense why you got screwed over. You may not like it, but it made sense. With WCW, it was a bit more haphazard. And as you mentioned earlier, Aaron, this idea of throwing money away at an announcer just for saying, let's get ready to rumble, you'd never see that nowadays. You'd never see that nowadays from Vince. But I wrote something down here. I don't know what. Yeah, Bobby Heenan says, "Oh, we got a lot of problems here, a lot of problems." And Tony Schiavone almost seems taken aback by Bobby saying that before they come out. But then Bobby is in Savage's corner, which is weird because Savage is with Hogan in the NWO, and Bobby always hates Hogan. So it's so weird how he plays the heel commentator in this thing, even though he's essentially attaching himself to Hogan.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Tony didn't know that was coming, which is probably a genuine reaction from Tony. I'm sure that Bobby Heenan was given, hey, you're Bobby Heenan, ad lib, tell us whatever you want. But yeah, you're right. Bobby Heenan did not like his time there, and it's been well documented also that he may have been drinking on the job. I mean, that's just facts. That's a lot of what's happening here. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. I know that even my wife pointed out at the end of this match when she walked in the room, she goes, has that guy been drinking? And I said, maybe. So it's just, it's not Bobby's best output. It's really the two-man show of Dusty Rhodes and Tony Schiavone that really get this over. And I think they do a great, great job in this match.
I agree. And these are the three guys who did Bash at the Beach, right? When Hogan turned and became into. So it's the same three-man team running this one. And I agree with you. It is, Bobby gets his shots in, which I think are funny in certain exchanges with Schiavone, but it's really Dusty Rhodes and Schiavone kind of carrying a majority of this match in terms of their announcing of the match overall.
Definitely. But let's go back to so Randy Savage goes to the outside. He gets a chair, pushes poor David Penzer out of the way. The announcer, jeez. Poor David Penzer was just there trying to get a paycheck. So he grabs a chair, whacks DDP with it.
Wait. I got to stop you right here. This is another great Bobby Heenan. When he says, see, that's all right. And Schiavone goes, no, it isn't. He goes, you ever wanted to smack Penzer around? I thought that was a brilliant shot from Bobby. Brilliant heel shot. But anyway, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so David Penzer, who's been replaced by Michael Buffer, main event match, to just say words. So Savage gets the chair, goes back in, whacks DDP with it, and the freaking referee takes it from him. I guess the referee didn't realize this was also a no DQ match. Like, it's like, hey, ref, it's fine. Yeah, it's a no DQ match. So Savage goes outside. He kind of gets in Michael Buffer's face, pushes Penzer again, which is great, and he grabs the ring bell, which was a nice callback to WrestleMania 3, doing a little Ricky Steamboat action there, getting the ring bell. But as he goes to the top, Kimberly takes it from him. And then, DDP calls for the cutter. It's time. As Macho Man goes to the top, misses the elbow drop, but he eats a low blow straight to the nuts. And then Macho Man Randy Savage takes advantage, loses his temper on the referee, pile driving him, and then taking off his belt and beating him with it.
Yeah, let's stop.
What did
go ahead.
What did the referee do?
Well, you took the chair from him. It's an ODQ match. Why do you take the chair from me?
Yes,
you're clearly biased, in my opinion. I mean, I think that's kind of a weird roundabout way to go about explaining why he did what he did. By the way, totally took that pile driver. That was a legitimate shot.
Nice.
I was just like, wow, that is for a guy of a slight frame like that. It's scary to be in a situation like that and put your neck on the line. Certainly, we saw what happened with Owen Hart and Stone Cold. So, like, it's a weird situation to put your neck on the line like that when you're not a trained wrestler. So you hope that the wrestler who is putting it on you is doing it correctly. So that it looked like he took the full brunt of that thing too. It was kind of scary to watch. But I found it odd that Randy gets the bell taken from him and it doesn't stop him at all. Like he just goes, it just moves right on into the next situation and does tries to do the elbow drop, of course, which is reversed by DDP sticking his legs up in the air. But I was surprised at how Randy doesn't just even register the fact that the bell's been taken from him in some way, like pointing at Kimberly or doing something, having some exchange with Kimberly, and then going back to getting up. So it was a weird kind of exchange in that way. But you're right. Yeah, just reverse. He also reverses the diamond cutter in a way that the announcers both say they've never seen happen before, because he tries to reverse it into almost a backslide pin. But instead, as you said, Aaron, throws his heel into DDP's nuts. By the way, those nut shots, I mean, there are some of them where you watch and you're like, I don't know how you're getting away with that and not actually hurting the dude, because they look brutal.
You wear a cup.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's how you get away with it.
From behind, still, you and I both know a plastic cup hitting the side of your nuts ain't easy either. So
I used to be a catcher, man. I know all about it. Plastic cup ain't doing nothing. But I think I may have an explanation for your Kimberly thing about the ring bell. I noticed that when Kimberly took the ring bell, like Macho Man kind of like wavered on the top rope and like stood there for like an awkward amount of time.
Yes.
Like I think that they were supposed to do something else there, and Kimberly just screwed it up.
Yeah, maybe she forgot.
And then Macho Man was just like, hell, we'll just go with the rest of it. Ain't that big a deal. I think that's probably what happened there.
Yeah. So because he certainly held the ring bell down long enough for her to take it. Right.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
Go, and you can tell he's holding it there for her to get it easier. Yeah.
Yeah, but then after Macho Man throws the referee out of the ring, which he goes and goes to the top rope and hits like one of the most beautiful elbow drops I've ever seen him hit. The thing was effortless. I could watch that on a loop like a boomerang all day, just watching him do that. Then he goes for the pin, and guess what? There's no referee.
No referee, because
Macho Man beat him up, which makes no sense. It doesn't make, if you're trying to win a match, throw out the referee. But it's okay. Here comes Nick Patrick, the NWO referee that, the NWO has paid Nick Patrick off to be their own personal referee. So surely Nick Patrick's going to count this 3 count.
And the storyline is that Nick Patrick has been reinstated recently because he obviously with the NWO stuff, he had been kicked out of the WCW as a storylines thing. And he had been reinstated recently with the intention that he was going to adhere to the thought that he was going to adhere to the NWO stuff. When Diamond Dallas reverses this thing on Randy and hits that diamond cutter, then it really comes into play what Nick Patrick's going to do, or it comes into question what Nick Patrick's going to do.
Yeah, he hits the diamond cutter. Place goes absolutely nuts, as we thought they would. And then there's an awkward pause before he gets the 3 count, which I didn't really care for. It's like, well, I guess we're selling how devastating this is if it's going to keep Macho Man down for 3 even after this time. Then Nick Patrick counts the 3, and the NWO is like, what the hell's going on? As they all come down to the ring, Kevin Nash, Eric Bischoff, Virgil, I saw Buff Bagwell, Scott Norton. That's who I was trying to think of. Got down there, and then of course Nick Patrick eats a jackknife powerbomb for his troubles.
Dude, that was
gnarly,
right? Like Nick Patrick doesn't strike me as the most in shape dude. Taking a powerbomb, because he doesn't throw you down, he throws you away from him, and that's a scary situation to land like that, man. Woo.
Yeah, he'll put you wherever he wants to put you. So I guess in that respect, he just didn't really care where he put Nick Patrick. Yeah. But it's just a bit. It's one of those typical WCW pay-per-view finishes. The NWO has to, end up get with the last word. They kick DDP out of the ring and all this stuff. And it's like, all right, I guess on the Monday Nitro, there's dissension in the ranks, because at one point Macho looked like he was going to punch Kimberly.
Yeah, he grabs her.
After going to be really bad.
Out, and it looks like he's going to slap her. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Eric Bischoff stops him. And then we have Macho Man shoving Eric Bischoff. So now we got dissension in the ranks. I mean, this would eventually lead to, I believe Macho Man left the NWO not shortly after this. So there you go. So that was the beginning of that. And then they abruptly just go back to the announcers and like, yep, that happened. We'll see you on Nitro.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Which was really weird. And that's just WCW. That's how they would always end their shows. And they have like an actual like crawl with credits, which is very different than what the WWE has. So all of your, because that tells you that it's a show. Right. WWE wants you, of course, you thinking it's like real. But that's how that goes. But the match overall, I thought, I mean, it's nothing. Like you said, it's not like a 5-star classic. It's not one of these amazing things you have to go for. The match truly is just a benchmark in the career of Diamond Dallas Page and really a turning point in the career of Macho Man Randy Savage to put a guy like this over. That's why you watch it. It's not because it's a Tokyo Dome classic. Right.
And I agree. And I think this is why it's an important match for us to cover here on Strong Style, because DDP is, as we stated earlier, one of the faces of professional wrestling now, both outside the ring and for his work inside the ring. And we'll get to, him being in the Hall of Fame and everything like that. But certainly this is a seminal moment. And we'll finish that story here in a second as well from you, Aaron. This is a seminal moment in DDP's career that and he says it kind of put him into main event status. He'd go on to win the things that he'd go, which I don't want to take anything away from what you're going to say, but this is an important match to cover for that reason alone. And I think it's a damn good match to watch. It's certainly an enjoyable match, and it's quick. It doesn't drag on and on. It isn't like the Randy Orton Edge match from WrestleMania 36 is 37 minutes. This thing was a tight 18 or 19 minutes.
Somewhere in that area.
Yeah, really not a long match at all, but enough of a match to enjoy and enjoy the swings and the turns and the twists. And I think you're right to bring this up. It does lead to what will eventually be the NWO Wolfpac, right? Or it was the Wolfpac already formed? Right. Yeah, will become the NWO Wolfpac, and then the NWO Black and White, and which will which will eventually lead to that terrible moment where Nash is pinned by Hogan off a finger prick or whatever it is. So that ends up, kind of speeding the train to the end of the NWO situation in WCW. But, this is an important match for a number of reasons. Certainly that's another element to throw in there. The fact that it is the beginning of the end of the NWO in WCW. And then of course they'll eventually pop up in WWF, but it'll never be what it was in its heyday.
Yeah, and like you alluded to earlier, I do want to finish this story between Macho Man and DDP. This is just so cool. Like, I had to share it. This is DDP talking again, once again, for DiamondDallasPage.com. For Randy Savage to put me over in the middle with the Diamond Cutter in 97, it not only made me a top guy, but a main event pay-per-view draw, which was mind-boggling to me. Yeah. That November on Thanksgiving, everybody was calling me saying, "Thank you, DDP. I appreciate you helping me out." There were so many people I helped get jobs. I thought, God, who am I thankful for? Besides my family, besides Dusty Rhodes, who was my mentor, besides Jake Roberts and Jody Hamilton, who am I really thankful for? And I thought, I got to call Savage. So I picked up the phone. I got his answering machine. I go, "Randy, I know you're probably going to think this is a little corny, but I just got to tell you, man, without you, I'm not sitting in the spot in my life right now. And I want you to know, for what it's worth, I really appreciate it, man. I hope you have a really great Thanksgiving." And that was it. 2 weeks go by. I didn't see him, and I eventually just forgot about it. Next TV taping, he comes up to me. "Diamond, come here." He was just intense behind the scenes, He pulls me aside, and I'm like, "Oh, man, what did I do?" He goes, "I got your message, and I got to tell you, I played it for my dad," his dad being Angelo Poffo, legendary wrestler. And I said, "Dad, did you ever get a message like this from one of the boys?" And he said, "Randy, I've never heard of anyone getting a message like that from one of the boys." Then Randy said, "I just want you to know it meant everything to me," and gave me this huge bear hug.
Dude, such a great story. I almost getting emotional hearing you tell the story, man, because of course we don't have Randy anymore. And so many of us loved Randy for decades in professional wrestling. And you hear so many of the terrible stories behind the scenes between wrestlers, the jealousy, the anger, the screwing each other over, taking each other's wives or girlfriends, things of that nature, or brother turning on brother, things that you hear about it all the time. It's refreshing, and it's great to hear a story about a wrestler really appreciating what the other wrestler did for him, and the other wrestler being moved by it, because it's not usually done, which surprises you. It's such an ultra masculine sport for the most part. You imagine that nowadays that happens way more frequently, but back then in the 90s, it really wasn't a thing that people did overtly. This idea of saying thank you or practicing gratitude or reaching out to another, because it was supposed to be part of the job. It's part of the thing to put you over, but it must have really kind of moved Randy so much for him to get a thank you. Because sometimes, man, when you come down to it, a lot of performers, Aaron, all they want to hear is thank you or you are great from someone they work with, because it means a lot to them that someone else that they also respect and admire appreciates what they bring to the table. You know, we walk around so much in this business sometimes with our chests puff out to show how strong we are, when hiding that the need to have a little bit of stroke or affection or care or friendship from someone we work with. It can mean a lot, and certainly meant a lot to Randy. And that's a beautiful moment between two guys, two humans, just expressing gratitude for each other. And that's a refreshing thing to hear nowadays.
Yeah, respect is everything in the wrestling business. You'll hear people from, you'll hear the old timers say it, you'll hear new people say it. Yeah, that's just how it is, man. If you don't respect the business, if you don't respect the other wrestlers, number one, you can get hurt.
Yeah.
And number two, I mean, you guys aren't going to make any money together.
Right.
And number three, like, they're just not going to remember you, and you'll be gone and jobless before the day is done. So if you don't have respect in the business, at the end of the day, you got nothing. And to hear this story, which is just an amazing story about Macho Man Randy Savage, it's not something you'd find on like Dark Side of the Ring or anything like that. It's completely opposite. And it, like you said, it is refreshing to hear. I'm glad I found that
me too.
warmed my heart up a little bit, and I'm sure that Macho Man really did enjoy that. And I still wish we had him around. I'd love to still have Macho Man kicking around today.
Oh, dude, if he could ever write a full-on biography of everything that he went through, like all the way like to now as an older man looking back, I think it would have been one of the greatest biographies ever written for any professional wrestling fan to read, for sure, in that way. And we go on from here. We should talk about the what happened to them. Obviously we lost Randy, and then we lost Elizabeth, sadly, as well, to I think it was a drug overdose or things of that nature. She was with Lex Luger at the time. If you want to see more of that, you can watch that Dark Side of the Ring from season 1, which is fantastic. But then Diamond Dallas Page and Kimberly eventually divorce, and Diamond goes on to do what he does. You want to take that from there?
Yeah, of course, like I said in the story, this match helped DDP become a main event player. Page would eventually win the World Heavyweight title in WCW in April of '99, defeating Hulk Hogan, Sting, and Ric Flair in a Fatal 4 match. Not bad, kid. And then DDP would eventually, he would divorce Kimberly, like you said. He would come over to the WWF after the close of WCW in 2001, starting a feud with The Undertaker. Not bad, kid. And then in 2017, Page was inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. If you know Diamond Dallas Page at all, you know, of course, about DDP Yoga, how he started that, took it on Shark Tank. They said, no, thank you. And now he's turned it into a multi-million-dollar business and has helped, such wrestlers, not only with their physical, but their mental state, really helping a lot of these guys have a new lease on life, such as Jake the Snake Roberts, if you saw that documentary, Scott Hall, Chris Jericho, Dustin Rhodes, and I'm sure there's a ton more that he's helped that we don't know about. Yeah, just a great human being is good old Paige Falkenberg, and well loved in the business, and his spot in the Hall of Fame is well earned and is absolutely undeniable as one of the greatest stars during one of the biggest booming times in the wrestling industry. The Diamond Cutter was over like Rover, like nobody's business. Dude, I used to have that DDP shirt in the diamond like this. Like, I mean, I was a big DDP mark, and I'm sure a lot of people were too. But I'm glad that we got to go back and talk about this, because usually a lot of people think about DDP now as they think about that WWF run and how weird it was that he was the stalker with the Undertaker, and it didn't really go anywhere because he ended up hurting his back, and he really was only in WWE for like a year and a half before he was completely done. So I'm glad we got to shed some light on the more brighter parts of his career. I absolutely agree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's fantastic that we got the chance to sit down and talk a little bit about him, because you're right. He's a guy that gets looked over. Everybody talks about Flair and Hogan and Savage, and they look at DDP and think about the yoga stuff, the stuff he does outside the ring, but stuff inside the ring needs a little bit more time as well, a little more respect from shows and from other people who kind of tell the history of professional wrestling in the 90s and in the early 2000s. DDP left his mark in so many ways
Like you said, he was even doing it back at WrestleMania 3 as a driver. So he's been around the business for a long, long time. Certainly a hunger to be successful in the business, but it feels like he did it the right way, which is not a lot. You don't hear a lot of stories about people who do it the right way. And shout out to him for being one of those guys that does. And the fact that he's paying it back and paying it forward with DDP Yoga is a great thing. So you say he earned his spot in the Hall of Fame at WWE. Absolutely. He's earned for me, he's earned his spot in the Hall of Fame of life as a human being, as a man, spreading, because it's not just wrestlers he's helped. It's countless and countless of thousands and thousands, probably millions of people who've done DDP Yoga. I see the testimonials all the time, and he will call people, things of that nature. When he first started doing DDP Yoga, he would call you if you ordered the full amount and have a conversation with you for like 5 or 10 minutes as a thank you. And that's a lot of time that you're taking to kind of say thank you to people and hope that it helps. And you see the testimonials of how many people have been helped by DDP Yoga who are suffering with physical problems, suffering with weight, suffering with any number of physical ailments that DDP Yoga helped them with. Does it mean it helped everybody? No, but it helped a lot of people. And it isn't just wrestlers, it's regular human beings as well who he's helped. And in that way, he's left a legacy that will last for a long time in an interesting and unique way as far as professional wrestling is concerned.
I did mention this, but I should put this in here. He actually got a contract recently with the NFL Players Association to be their official yoga person. That's incredible.
Wow.
How cool is that? And he's written a couple books. I should also say that they're yoga books. They're autobiographical, self-help a little bit. And I can tell you that a friend of mine personally has read both books, and he said they changed his life. The outlook that DDP has on life and just the wisdom that he has. Because, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. DDP's been through some tough times. Yeah. So, I mean, to have a guy come all the way through it and come out on the other side and help people, I mean, can you really ask for a better human being than that?
Right. And those are the people you want to listen to because their stories are going to resonate with you if you're struggling with things or having to overcome things. Those are the best self-help books. Someone who's never had to struggle through anything can't tell you anything about life. It's the people who've struggled and overcome, and you hear their stories or read their stories and you find similar beats within your story that resonates with you. You take hope from the fact or take a motivation from the fact that they were able to overcome it. You might be able to too. It's important. It's certainly a hallmark of the Outlaw Nation. I'm very open when I talk about my stuff in such a smaller degree than DDP does, but I hope in some way I help one person at least with the things that we do here to show what you can do if you overcome certain things, what is possible for you in your life. So I love people like DDP who do that in a way larger and mass scale because we need more people like that in the world spreading that kind of possibilities instead of people spreading hate or dissension or you're never going to make it, that kind of stuff. So I'm happy we got a chance to talk about a positive light in the world and not just the world of professional wrestling. So, all right, well, there you go. That's our episode of Strong Style. Can't thank you all enough for downloading this episode on YouTube. And maybe, just maybe, you've downloaded us on the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network. And if you're watching this and you don't know about it, now you know. The Outlaw Nation is on a podcast network, has its own podcast network. That's the name of it. All the shows are on there now. Mornings with the Outlaw Nation show, Strong Style, Soma, Game Time. All the shows are on there for you to listen to now. If you can't watch it, you can listen to us and download it. So go and subscribe there as well. And Aaron and I, as we spoke about, we're generating and thinking about new content we want to put up on here. And maybe we'll do more, just a separate podcast show that's just a separate one for fans to listen to when they want to download some extra conversations between us about a situation in wrestling or a moment in wrestling that happened in the past. All right, Aaron, you want to tell them what we got coming up next? And please, everything you need to plug, my man.
Sure thing. So next week we have on tap Wrestle Kingdom 9. We're going New Japan finally. You guys have been asking for it. We're going for it. It's going to be the IWGP Intercontinental Championship match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Kota Ibushi. Should be one heck of a discussion there. And, of course, you can find me on Twitter at @OnlyAaronTurner. That's where I can be found talking about wrestling. As I now say, come for the wrestling stock, stay for the dog pics. That's where you'll find me on Twitter.
That's right. I can't encourage you all to follow Aaron enough. Follow Aaron. Give @OnlyAaronTurner. Give him some likes. Give him some love. Give him some follows, and keep building up his account too, because we want to keep spreading the word of Strong Style amongst all you fans. And as I said at the beginning of the show, please like and share this on your social media. If you share it, it's essentially putting a rubber stamp of approval on the show that other people who are your followers or your friends or your family will look at and go, "Hey, this is a show maybe I should check out because if that person liked it and I like them, maybe I'll like like the show. So do that kind of stuff as well. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Subscribe to the Outlaw Nation down there below and give it a like. Give this show a like as well. It helps to get the likes, and keep leaving those comments. I have to tell you, this show is one of the most commented shows I get on the Outlaw Nation channel. That makes me happy. So although the fan base is small, it is strong and it is vocal, and I appreciate that. So please encourage more and more people to get involved so we can bring more and more content onto the professional wrestling banner here on Strong Style on the Outlaw Nation channel. All right, take care until the next time we see you here on Strong Style.